Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner MetaZone, Rovi and MScribe, and today we got some RSIC.
RSIC? Are you sick?
Yeah,
RSIC?
We're all sick.
RSIC it's not arsenic, is it?
No, but close enough.
But there's also ASIC, which are these application-specific computer chips, right? Those are like what the Bitcoin miners use.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it has. Actually, it probably does. It's like a play on that, right?
Yeah, it's close. So I think they have RSIC, Rune Specific Inscription Circuits.
Beautiful. So these guys obviously they put their marketing hats on, but you're about to find out why, because this is the latest craze that's buzzing all over Twitter right now.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's been kind of like a slow news day when it comes to like actual like innovations out there. Couldn't really find too much. There's stuff happening, but obviously the price of Bitcoin is cratering right now.
I called it.
Yeah. So I guess I officially dubbed the correct. And the winner, dude. Yeah. You made the right prediction. The ETF was all like hypium.
Yeah, fake news.
Well, it wasn't fake news. It just wasn't really that like pump worthy, I guess.
Yeah, which is weird.
I thought so. I thought like that was like the news events of a generation. But apparently even that is like always sell the news pretty much. No
always. Doesn't matter. Even if like
if anything's getting that much hype and like multi-month buildup. Yeah. Never think like the market's just gonna like overjoyously
buy it.
Yeah. It's just sell the news. So you're right. So here we are, dude. What else is happening now that Bitcoin's cratering?
Right, yeah. And so that's why we're talking about RSIC.
Yeah.
So apparently people got this airdrop. It looks like one of these. Pretty cool kind of like glyphs here.
Kind of Matrix-y in a way, you know?
And so I think only OMBs, people holding OMBs like frogs.
Bitcoin frogs. I think the Bitcoin puppets, some of the more like, I don't know.
Yeah, like
notable, I guess.
A-tier value, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the ones that are up for the running for like blue chip status on ordinals, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. Who really knows what the criteria was?
Yeah, decision making, arbitrary decision making.
Very arbitrary.
Yeah.
But as we know, this is what people like to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, people receive this. Now everyone's wondering like, WTF? What are these things?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they pumping on Magic Eden?
Correct.
And then there's like all this speculation around this, right? So let's unpack it a little bit. So
it was interesting. You opened up Twitter and then there's like so many tweets is like, oh, what are these things?
Well, the thing that's the most interesting, I was completely about to fade this until you said something about they're claiming to be the first rune.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hold on, huh? What do you mean? How do they claim that? I thought runes isn't even like a real thing yet.
Yeah, correct. It's not a real thing yet.
Yeah, it's just like a brainchild of Casey. He keeps teasing the thing, saying it's going to come one day. Yeah. I guess he has like a target expected launch, which is like around the halvening.
Yeah, but if we know Casey, he's going to come up with some way where you can't gamify your way to being the first. It has to be some sort of like random thing.
You think so?
I feel like that's what Casey would do.
Well, maybe if he's not behind this, because the speculation is maybe he or somebody close to him.
Yeah.
Because there's some like evidence to suggest that that there's whoever launched this initiative has some sort of access to like a true OG in this ordinal space, right?
Yeah.
Because of this inscription here.
Yeah. So this inscription number 126, which is as OG as it gets, it says deploying more inscriptions, right? That was the inscription.
Correct. Right? And I think the one right before this, 125, said steady lads, right?
I don't know if it was 125.
Oh, I don't know. I thought I saw that somewhere. Yeah. But nonetheless, so I guess you have to explain to us what's happening here as far as like parent and children inscriptions.
Yeah. So we're looking at inscription 126, and this was inscribed January 27, 2023. So almost a year ago.
Wow.
And you scroll down. I think you can do this on ordinals.com and or.io. But then there's these child inscriptions. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, let's check out these child inscriptions, right? So you click on them, and this is 711-433. I have it right here. And it's like, what is this? RSIC factory. I was like, pulsing. Okay, it's pulsing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that means something's happening, right? That's what that's what pulsing means.
I guess it's alive, yeah.
Right. So this one was inscribed just a few days, or yesterday, January 21st.
Yeah.
It's like, so about a full year after. So this came from like an OG inscription, right?
Right, because
this is a child.
I mean, that means you have to like have ownership of that.
Correct.
OG inscription in order to add like a child inscription. Like
now that I think about it, I think it was Leonidas or Trevor that said that that maybe this original inscription was purchased and then moved, but I think since you
have record of that, like if it was
right, but by sending it out and then sending it to yourself, I think it gets logged onto Bitcoin as well. I can't remember exactly how it. Huh. Whenever you do a child inscription, you have to send that parent along with the new inscription.
Correct.
And so sending that parent, I think it hits some sort of like middle address.
Okay.
And then it gets sent to you. Okay. And so maybe the person who originally inscribed this actually did the child inscription, and there was no purchasing, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Either did it or somebody, whoever is initiating this, I guess, knew the owner of this inscription, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess
told them to do it.
Something like that. Either like this is full on somebody in the early days of ordinals, tinkering with the market to try and, create this pre-rune hypium.
Maybe it is like the original inscriber, because it took a while for parent-child inscriptions to actually release.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we have Jubilee and we have like, this functionality, it already like settled.
Correct. So this is what's adding kind of like the feel to this narrative and all this speculation, right? Because without this like super OG inscription like tied to this,
that's right.
It wouldn't have the, I guess, like the potential juice to the narrative that somehow they can potentially like technically pull off what it is they're claiming to do, which is becoming the first rune deployment, I guess, right? Because that's where the value in all this is, because there's like a distribution mechanism associated with all these assets to future rune allocation, right?
Yeah, and so we're just taking you guys along as like our discovery process for all this, right? And so the second one is this one. This one is an RSIC distribution center, right? And so this is
also feels alive.
Also a child inscription of this guy. So this guy has 10 of these.
Okay.
So you click on any one of these, like for example, let's just click on some random one, right? So let's go to this one, and it's going to look like a completely kind of different. Well, I guess it looks the same. I thought they looked different.
Well, they have a different number, right?
Yeah, this is number 6, and then this one happens to be number 1.
Interesting. Okay, well at least we're starting to see a good showcase of parent-child, at least out of this.
Yeah, correct.
It's very nice.
So of course it has parent, and then look at all these like child inscriptions. What does that kind of remind you of, Iman? So this distribution center has a ton of child inscriptions.
I see.
What does that kind of remind you of?
It reminds me of a bitmap. Well, not yet.
Not yet.
The idea of bitmap leveraging parent-child.
Yeah, look at this. It just keeps going.
Eventually, this is what your bitmap will look like.
Yeah.
Once mscribe is like, ready to support all this, activity.
Humming along, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea of being, bitmap has source information and details that can be leveraged to generate new children, right?
So here's what's interesting is that
parcels are nats, by the way.
Yeah, correct. Parcels,
and nats.
Yeah. What's interesting here is that the owner of this parent inscription has to inscribe these children, and so
every block.
Yeah, this is very expensive.
Yeah, this is expensive, eh? Because these are transactions.
All these are transactions. All of these are being sent to the miners of this ecosystem.
Right, so these 10 distributors, is this a manual thing, or is there like a script doing all this?
Well, it's a script, which that took some innovating, right, to figure that out.
This is interesting. So what's the incentive, or what's the cutback to these distributors if they're spending resources to do the actual distribution of these assets every block?
Number go up, I guess. I don't know.
So there's an operation. Maybe there's a warranted, because something we haven't mentioned, there's a 10% of the tokens are like reserved for the project founder, right? The game, the distribution, pretty much the Amazon, if you will.
Yeah.
The distributors, they're holding 10%. And that's, some people were like, WTF, it's kind of grifty. You know, they're doing like a pretty much a fair mint distribution with a little bit of like game mechanism as part of it. But like you're pointing out, there's an actual resource expenditure here, right? So maybe maybe it's warranted.
This is very expensive, dude.
Yeah,
dude, I've been scrolling; it doesn't stop.
So this is supposed to continue on until the halvening, basically, and then by then, these RSIC tokens, I guess, will be fully distributed. Right, to the miners, the participants of all this.
Yeah,
something like that.
All right, so that's our like trying to like discover all this, right? And so here we discovered this this inscription, and the rules were inscribed, right? And so I'm gonna share all the links here with you guys so you can kind of read it. It's really short. It's basically like a short white paper.
Yeah, it's like a napkin paper, really.
Yeah.
It's just, There's not many rules, but that's good. So keep it simple.
Yeah, one of the first things they say, this is going to be the first ever rune on Bitcoin, and that's
the big claim here.
Yeah, this is where it's like it's going to be difficult to be first on runes.
Yeah, how do you guarantee? Because we were trying to like visualize what that day is going to look like.
Yeah,
you know, the halvening day.
Yeah,
in April, there's a block, 840,000, right?
Correct.
There's going to be a lot of action going on that day trying to...
Yeah, bitmap action. There's going to be some NAT action on that block.
Some rare sat action.
And some RSIC action. Rare sat, yeah.
Yeah, and just general halvening action, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an important block, right? So this is like, okay, how do you... And of course, runes, I guess, is targeted to deploy. I guess Casey can put out like, okay, whenever the halvening block comes in... You know, that's whenever the specification, I guess, I've completed and released for Rune deployments.
Yeah.
It's already known. It's just they won't be valid until that block. So I would assume everybody's going to pile in to try and get their Rune ticker deployed first, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially this guy.
Yeah.
Or this team or whatever.
I mean, they're spending a ton of money distributing these assets, so...
Yeah. So what do you think? How do you pull this off? How would you pull this off? If you could?
I think what happens if you're trying to be the first on runes, whatever Casey releases on that halvening is going to be the framework to launching your first runes. And so I'm pretty sure people are going to see what that framework looks like before that event. And so projects like these guys, the RSICs, will be able to kind of structure their token, the RSIC, the rune. Based off this RSIC distribution process, which we're going to explain here in a second, they're going to try to get the rune by paying more than all the other deployers for runes.
Yeah, but they won't be alone.
Correct. No, they won't.
And who knows? This maybe because this is already doing pretty well. There might be more, copycat, I guess, rune deployments, rune in quotes, rune distribution mechanism events.
Correct.
Prior to this halvening, potentially, if this turns into like a pre-halvening mania of a sorts.
Yeah.
Just capitalize on, we're in a lull. Bitcoin is slumping away. People are like, what's the next thing, guys? We got some things in the works with, DMT and such, but runes is obviously on everybody's mind because of Casey, right? The provenance of association to Casey Rodimer.
Right.
So it's like, why not build into that hype and like try and galvanize a little mini market run out of it.
Yeah, I can see in the next 3 months a lot of copycats, a lot of versions of this coming out, trying to capitalize,
and that would make that halvening block that much more interesting because you were gonna have a real like bidding war, right?
Yeah,
that's the only way to do it, right?
That's the only way.
So it's literally gonna come down to who's got the biggest bag to secure. Because how does that get ordered in the block? Just purely based on the fee, right?
It's based on the fee, yeah. So the highest fees at the top, that gets mined first, and then,
Wow.
So, all right, so let's kind of go through this. So read the rules, supply chain. So so in this game, right, this is read the rules of the game below if you choose to play, right? So there's a factory, there's an RSIC distribution center, there are RSICs, which are Rune Specific Inscription Circuits, there are foundries, and then Rune distribution centers. And so all these like play with each other in order to get the actual rune distributed to your wallet.
Correct.
Right? And so the way that is done is through these distribution centers, the foundry that prints, that etches these runes, that creates these runes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the RSIC distribution center, which distributes the RSICs themselves.
Basically the child inscription minters, basically.
Yeah. So, okay, so they have sort of like a backstory, right? So a technological arms race has begun. 21,000 cutting-edge R6 manufactured in our factory are being sent from our distribution centers to the ordnance community. The R6 are designed for the sole purpose of securing a bag of runes, right? So just remember, there's R6 and then there are runes. These runes will be etched in our foundry after the runes protocol launches on Bitcoin. So I feel like runes uses the OP return field on Bitcoin. So I don't know what the interplay between an inscription and like OP return, like how they're going to play with each other. Because this makes the assumption that these runes will be etched in our foundry, which these are inscriptions, after the rune protocol launches on Bitcoin. So it's almost as if they know something that we don't, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because runes are not technically ordinals, right?
Yeah, they're not.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's a different thing. And
the motivation, the whole motivation for Casey was to remove fungibility out of the ordinals
from
ecosystem,
the ordinals,
because he was kind of in line with the maxi thinking, this is too much bloat for Bitcoin to handle. So let's migrate all this activity to a less of a bloat vehicle, right?
Yeah.
The OP return, I guess.
Yeah.
Just to add a little bit more, I guess, efficiency to all of this. So you're right. Maybe there's that, or they're just interpreting as well as you can, what this future rollout looks like, and playing off of that.
Yeah, and so, but my point here is that, this line implies that they know that there's going to be some interplay, and maybe there can be. It's just, it's not obvious.
Okay.
Okay, so then here are the rules of the game. Our R6 are inscriptions. 21,000 were manufactured in total. Our factory and distribution centers have since mysteriously exploded.
Okay.
All R6 are being distributed to the ordinals community free. R6 holders have 3 choices: either mine runes, sell the R6 that you received, or fade.
Fade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening here. So you simply mine by doing nothing, pretty much.
Correct.
Just let them sit there in your wallet.
Yeah.
And they just come trickling in.
Yeah, the runes come trickling in.
Correct.
Yeah. So R6 must be activated before they start mining. To activate your R6, transfer it once. Owner address is okay. Every Bitcoin block, runes will be allocated to the address holding activated R6 until the supply is fully allocated. So by holding R6 and sending it to yourself, you have a chance of collecting more R6.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then until the supply is fully allocated. Rune allocation stack. More R6 equals more runes. There is no limit on the number of R6 per address. There are 4 types of rune allocations. There's flat, random, boosted, and halvening. 10% of R6 are reserved for the game designers.
These guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so at first it's
So technically, they're holding 10%. They're collecting 10% of all the runes distributed from this game ecosystem.
Correct. Yeah, it's like a pre-mine,
in
a sense, because by the time these actual runes are distributed, they're going to get 10% of that supply. We're setting up the whole thing, of course, and then this is typically the ethos along these fair mint distributions for all of these fungible token protocols we've seen up until this point has largely been 100% distribution.
Yeah.
Free mints, open mints, come in, here's the JSON or whatever.
Yeah.
And inscribe your share. And once it's minted out, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right? There's never been there's rarely a situation where there's a team allocation. Right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
They've come up with one. Is it warranted? That's up for the community to figure out. I mean, because we've seen BMP, the people who put that token out there is this is for the bitmap community to claim.
Yeah.
Whatever's left, who knows what's going to happen to that supply? But ultimately, it's in the hands of the foundry or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
And we tend to agree with Jake. What Jake is saying here is a project called RSIC airdropped 80%, really is 90%. And they kept the 10%. The promise is the first ever rune. He basically goes in to say that there's no way to really prove or confirm that you're going to be the first, like we were saying earlier. And by keeping that much in supply, the current floor price around $600 right now is about 800, something like that.
Yeah.
The individual team behind it's holding about $2.5 million already.
So that's quite the bag. I mean, if it does come down to a battle of of the purse when it comes down to block 840,000 to ensure, we're going to get the first rune deployment.
Yeah.
At least they have a war chest to kind of like contest.
That's right.
Right? So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of, I think, competition for that block space.
They already have a war chest if we're looking at all these, like, inscriptions.
That's true.
Child inscriptions.
Yeah, so there's speculation that, this is like an already successful previous, ordinal team, potentially. Maybe this is the Node Monkeys guys at it again.
Yeah.
Who knows who. But this is definitely an orchestrated, like, movement from somebody of notability, but nobody knows who yet. So it's interesting. This is the type of shit you see in ordinals all the time, right?
Yeah, and the way they set it up with child inscriptions is pretty good, right?
Okay.
This is how you should do it, I guess.
Yeah. So main takeaways here. I mean, I wouldn't bet the whole bag on anything like this because there's so many like contingencies.
Yeah.
So many, and a lot of like speculative unknowns, really. But it is like Jake said, it's a novel concept. It's a good utilization of new innovations on ordinals and such.
Yeah.
So and then there's that fucking weirdness of like they have an association to some OG inscription out there that so
some are speculating is who the RSIC founder is it Casey or Raktoshi?
Place your bets now.
Yeah, Casey was saying steady lads, and then
this was like a year ago.
Yeah.
And if you go to these guys' Twitter page, like they first tweet came out like 2 days ago, and the first thing they said was steady lads. So there's always that. There it is.
January 20th, 2 days ago, steady lads.
That's Casey.
Yeah. Right. Obviously, right?
Yeah, that's all the proof we need.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, we'll see where this goes, but I think it's official. Rune hype season begins now.
Yep.
And we're going to jump the gun, not even wait for the damn thing to be real. We're just going to...
I said earlier that we're going to see copycats. I don't think we're going to see that many copycats in this style because it's so expensive.
Too expensive?
Yeah, to distribute this.
See.
All right, guys. If we miss anything, let us know in the comment section below. If you have any questions, just let us know. And finally, appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.